You're listening to another episode of the Ana Vivo podcast. Thank you for your time.
Welcome to Shorts,
the part of the show where we regularly interrupt your scheduled programming to bring you content of relative interest.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Most of our viewers have clicked away at this point because the intro has been too long.
That may be true, but ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Ana Vivo podcast. I am your host, Tim C. Miller, co-hosted by my one and only youngest brother, Sizzly Steve.
What it do?
And we are here in the home office at beautiful Whidbey Island, Washington, coming to you live with an important announcement that may be beneficial to your health, specifically your financial or sanity-related health. Today's topic, brought to you by myself with no advertisements. You're welcome. And we're going to be talking about terms of service. So you asked an interesting question just a few minutes ago. What was that?
How many terms of service agreements do you think that you will have signed by the time you die?
That is an interesting statistic to look up the answer to as I monologue. But I don't know. That's a good question. For myself, a lot of them. How many of us download an app and click agree without actually reading the terms of service? And those are just the apps on our phone, let alone bigger, more involved projects like social media or web browsers or email client users or actual paper terms of service for our house or our car or even buying the phones or whatever. So
yeah, I think we just skipped through them because, you download an app and how does the app know who you are? So how does it know who's really agreeing to what,
Oh, there's ways.
Right? And so I think they know ultimately, but it's like when you read them and agree to them, you're just like, whatever. I didn't put in my email. I didn't put in my name. I didn't put in anything.
Yeah,
so
it's not attached to your phone.
How does it know, And so you just skip through it without thinking too much about it.
Yeah. Well, there's been some interesting developments in modern history. All through time, humans have made foolish decisions. That is a true statement. From the beginning of time, humans have made foolish decisions. And when we are presented in an era of living such as this, with many more options to be foolish, guess what? We're going to be more foolish. So most of the things we do, especially in a capitalistic world, which is about protecting the interests of a company or entity or person, are going to have some sort of terms of service, an agreement that we have checked. I have read and agree to these terms. And if we ever were to violate them and it was worth somebody's money and time, that those terms would come back to haunt us potentially. So today, what I wanted to do in a very quick episode is share with you, if you're anyone like me, who is all about and enjoys little hacks to make your life more efficient, I wanted to share with you all a website that is one of my favorites, just called tosdr.org. This is not sponsored. You can Google terms of service didn't read, and it will be the first one that arrives. But That's what it stands for. Terms of Service Didn't Read. TOSDR.org. And when you get to that landing page, you can search, there's a search bar there for the app or the website or the social media platform that you're interested in, or you can scroll down below the search bar and you can look at most common ones such as Facebook or Amazon or Reddit or YouTube or whatever, and you can see. But what I like about this website, there are a few other websites that will summarize. Basically, that's what this website is doing. It's summarizing the terms of service for you. There are a few other websites that do that. But what I really like about this website that no other website does, there's two things. Number one is it puts all of the most potentially dangerous terms of service parts that you're agreeing to, good or bad, in a box right under that company. So, for instance, in Facebook, all of them are red, just to give you the bottom line up front. There's no good things about it. But and as you've heard before, and if you haven't, I'm sorry, here it is again. If something is free, you are the product, okay? So that should just be your first clue. If you're using Facebook and guess what, it's all free, then you are the product. So not surprisingly, all of these terms of service highlights are red, which is not good. But basically what it does in this example is it puts them all in a summary for you. One of them, Facebook stores your data, whether you have an account or not. Interesting. Your identity is used in ads that are shown to other users. Number 3, the service can read your private messages. If you didn't know, in Facebook Messenger, there's a way to do private messaging. Well, no surprise, they can read them. Number 4, this service can view your browser history. Your browser history, not your Facebook history, your browser history. And number 5, deleted content is not actually deleted. Okay? Now these aren't tinfoil hat cries of outrage. These aren't theories. These are statements directly from Facebook in their user agreement that most of us skip all the way through and check the box because we want to be on social media, just like our friends. And we check the box and say, yes, I've read and agree to these terms of service. So
yeah, but I always have my fingers crossed when I sign those.
Oh, well, then they can't get you.
Exactly.
So,
That's
okay, you're right.
thinking.
There's a workaround here. So that's number one. The number one reason I like this website, TOSDR.org, is because under each site that you're looking at, it will summarize the bad, okay, or good things that that are the standout items for this. And of course, the entire terms of service agreement is hyperlinked there. So if you wanted to read the whole thing, you could. But here's basically the highlights there. And then the second thing, and to contrast that, one of the examples here is DuckDuckGo, which is a web browser, and it has all green. Service does not track you. No need to register. IP addresses of website visitors are not tracked, et cetera, et cetera. Or Wikipedia has some okay things, but may not be good. The service can delete your account without prior notice and without a reason. That's not necessarily bad, but it's telling you just be aware of these things. The service may be using tracking pixels, web beacons, browser fingerprinting, and or device fingerprinting on users, okay? Maybe good or bad. One of the good things, you can publish your contributions under free licenses. So anyway, it sums all of this stuff up. The other good thing I like about this website that no other website does is it grades each of these terms of service agreements. So
by how brutal they are.
how that's a good question. How safe or beneficial to the user they are, not to the company. Otherwise, most of these would be green to the company, but most of them are red, of course. And so, for instance, Wikipedia is a grade B.
Oh, DuckDuckGo, all green.
Is a grade A. YouTube, Facebook, red, grade E. Quora, Khan Academy, grade D. Blizzard,
Tor browser.
The Tor browser.
All these.
The Tor browser that you think would be good
Is green.
No. The highlights are green, but it's actually a grade C versus
Ah.
DuckDuckGo is a grade A. And one of the reasons for that, so what you can do is you can click on the grade and it will break it down for you of why they've given it a grade. And so different privacy shields, or in this case, it's there's a payment required for total anonymity, et cetera, et cetera. So
You're talking outside your mic here, and it's hard to
oh,
hear.
I'm sorry, everybody. Oh my gosh. That's a foible. Is that a foible? Is that?
Yes, you sound so much better right now.
I've been talking this whole time and you didn't correct me?
Well,
You haven't been listening to me?
it sounded okay until you kept swiping your face back and forth.
My
And I was like,
dynamic
oh, that
mic
sounds
has
way
failed me. I'm so sorry, listeners. Anyway, those are the main two reasons. So TUSDR.org, it highlights the good and bad, and then it gives it a grade. And so you can search what you're about to download an app, you're about to use PayPal, you're about to do whatever, and you can search the terms of user agreements and see why they have what they have. And so Sizzly Steve has pulled up some interesting points on why this is important for us.
Yeah, so it's important to read your terms of service because it's a contract, right? And so you are getting their service in exchange for agreeing to such and such, whatever. And there are some instances where the company that you are signing that agreement with will sue you. Most of the time, it's versus another company. So, like, CNN will sue Google over their terms of service because Google is all of a sudden listing all their articles for free on their Google News, or vice versa, or whatever. And very few and far between will they target out an individual of their service. So it really is just usually another big company because they're doing stuff on such a massive scale versus you're just using their service itty bitty, teeny weeny, tiny whiny, So, but there are a few cases where individuals have been sued, and it's usually when they do something on a massive scale. So the first one is Stephanie Lenz. Posted a satirical video showing her children dancing to a song by Prince.
Okay.
And they posted it on YouTube. The song was Let's Go Crazy. And you would think today, this is back in 2007, back when YouTube was just being bought by Google. Nowadays, today, everybody posts pictures and videos of themselves dancing to songs,
Sure.
and no ifs, ands, or buts. But this is early days, and so this video went viral, and it was, one of those first viral videos. And so the label company sued them into the ground. They argued fair use, and it didn't matter. The Prince's label company was winning. However, because it was on YouTube and YouTube was starting to pick up traction, the public came to the YouTuber's defense and said, this is ridiculous. We're all going to boycott Prince. We're all going to boycott this label company. Everybody boycott them. And so finally they dropped the lawsuit and said, this is not worth our whatever.
Our time.
Yeah, exactly. We're losing more sales because of this lawsuit than we are by this person taking our video and posting it. So that's one example. Another horrible example is this man who was a student at MIT used a laptop to take articles off a website known as JSTOR, which is a digital library of academic journals. There's some loophole that he found in their terms of service.
Aha.
That allowed him to subscribe, but then also download the articles and post them for free on Reddit and other websites. And so he was downloading millions of articles using a laptop on the MIT Wi-Fi network. MIT came to JSTOR, the website, and said, listen, they're breaking your terms of service. JSTOR said, I agree, they are breaking our terms of service. They sued him into the dirt. They pursued criminal charges. He was facing 13 felony counts, wire fraud, computer fraud, unlawfully obtaining information from a protected computer because it was on the MIT Wi-Fi network that he was using it. He was facing up to 35 years in prison. It was absolutely horrible, and it was all because they didn't write their terms of service correctly, and it allowed him to do this. And so he committed suicide over it. And at that point, they dropped all the charges and said no more. But it goes to show that these are real contracts, and they are willing to criminally prosecute you over their terms of service. And you don't even read any of this stuff. Let's be honest. You didn't read any of those 36 pages that you signed up for on whatever. And every time you visit something, a little thing will pop up on the bottom of your website that says, do you agree, or do you allow, or do you whatever?
Accept these cookies in this case, yeah.
Yeah, and you're clicking yes to that.
Yeah.
And if you have any sort of intent on doing anything with that service, you should be reading those terms of service. Because if, for example, you're like, oh my goodness, I could take all this and give it to my friends, or I could record myself doing this, or I could do whatever, all of a sudden you are now their target of a lawsuit, and your life could be over.
Wow. Yeah, so I think the bottom line is for all of us now living in an era where there are multiple use cases for us to be aware of the products and the things that we engage with, do so to the best of your ability. As a dad, one of my great challenges in this world is not to protect my children, because the world is changing always, but it is to help my children to be more discerning so that whatever they encounter, they can make the best decision possible based on what they've learned. And so one of the ways for this is using this website, tusdr.org, and terms of service, didn't read, and then searching for that app or that program you're about to use, and then determining for yourself or for your family or for your company if it's worth allowing. A good example of this is TikTok, not allowed in the Navy. And if there's a reason for that, there's probably a reason you shouldn't be using it either in our country. But you can search for TikTok on here. And obviously the TikTok that is subsidized in America under a different, quote, American company, then its originator in China is a little bit different. But even the TikTok in the U.S. still has a grade E, and all of some of the highlights here, your private messages can be read. Content you post may be edited by the service for any reason. I wonder what that's used for in other countries. You waive your moral rights. Have you heard that one before? Specific content can be deleted without reason and may be removed without prior notice, and the service may collect, use, and share your location data, period, the end. So it's interesting to pull up different things. You know, I've got a lot of friends and family that are all pro CNN or pro Fox or whatever garbage people want to intake, and there's my bias coming out. It's all garbage, and but you can search for both of these and see that they both have a privacy grade of E, and all red mostly, with CNN being a lot longer of the list, and so. It's interesting. The number 2 thing that they're hit for on CNN, you sign away any moral rights. The number 1 thing that you is wrong with Fox News is this service still tracks you, even if you opted out from tracking. So what is the point of opting out if they're still going to track you? So it's just interesting. All of the things you learn from your what you thought were the companies and things that are supposed to protect us. But obviously, they're designed for the gain of the corporation and not you, the user. So do your best, protect yourself. In the same vein, we'll leave this episode with a message of hope, because I despise and hate all of the depressed, cynical, fear-based conversations that happen around, oh, this day and age, it's getting worse. Oh, things are getting worse. Oh, whatever. Like, dude, if you're a Christian, okay, great. What you sound surprised. You shouldn't be. And if you're not a Christian, well, you should be absolutely fearful. Of course, yeah. If things are getting worse and that's your analysis of things, then you need to be building a bunker. You need to be doing X, Y, and Z. You need to be doing whatever it is that makes you feel safe, because you have no ability to, you have no hope in something greater or more stable than yourself or your government or your company. So anyway, all of that to say, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I want to leave you all with a message of hope, in that all of these things are designed and can be helpful for us in our life. It is incredible how helpful it is for Stephen to have Google location turned on all the time. I don't turn mine on
all the time.
Yeah, I don't turn mine on, and I think, okay, I'm doing it for privacy reasons, whatever. But it has been so helpful when Stephen has it on, and he's like, oh, we visited this place this day exactly last year, and here's a picture that I took, and it posted it on my map of this place.
Or I can prove to my gig economy that, yes, I did visit this area and deliver this product.
Right, exactly. He can show that at least his phone was in that area, and it can prove it. So there's all of these tools are wonderful and can be really helpful and wonderful. And so it's up to you. You need to be the most discerning in how you're going to use that, and what the flip side of that. If we can look at both extremes and go all the way fast, to the other side of this, where China uses a total social credit mode, where they use all of this data to determine how worthy you are as a citizen. And based on that credit worthiness, that social credit, they allow you to do things like even ride the public transportation system. And if your credit social score is too low, you can't even do that, or you have to take a more worse time on the train versus a popular time on the train. I mean, it's just... It can get really intense and crazy at times. So be cautious, be wise, but also don't be fearful. And hopefully this is a tool that will help you all in your future as you go forward.
Yeah, I just want to say that TikTok does not have any US-based partners.
So what I mean by that is they've opened a I forget what you call a legal identity for them to operate in the U.S. So
no, they
an
were
LLC, essentially.
They were
It's not an
going
LLC,
to be
but it's a corporate identity.
forced to do that, and they never had to.
Let's put a pin in that.
They're owned by ByteDance. They have no
right
U.S. based name or company or LLC. It's still ByteDance.
I think then it's either that's either wrong, or
that's what they were pushing for them to do. You can't be in America unless you have an American company operating you.
So that's either wrong, and they do in fact have that, or you're right, but then a partner of theirs is U.S. based, because all of their income that they generate has to be taxed in the U.S. And so for them to do that, advertisements, all that kind of stuff, has to be at least partnered with a U.S. entity versus collecting tax on a foreign government. So there's got to be some sort of partnership.
I think they won, and I think we lost. So,
well, they're not in the Play Store for free. Does that make like somebody's getting taxes? Somebody in the U.S. is getting money off of it,
right?
Not from a foreign.
Just
entity.
Like any company operating in the U.S., but they don't need.
They're operating in the U.S., so they have to have some sort of memorandum of understanding or partnership, U.S. based partnership that has an EIN number associated.
They just
IRS
pay
EIN number.
taxes.
Right. So they have to have that IRS EIN number.
But they don't have a company here.
I mean, maybe not a physical
building. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. So I think what they wanted to do was say,
originally what it was,
you can't come here unless you go through Microsoft or unless you go through whatever.
What originally happened was it was created by China for other reasons. But when it came here, the U.S. had to vet it because of some things that were going on. And so they did not allow them to operate within the geographic borders of America unless they passed X, Y, and Z test and registered for taxes and registered for security. So there are some more strict security measures in the US-based app versus if you went to Thailand right now and you bought a phone there and you downloaded TikTok there, it would look the same to you, but it would be a completely different back end and the collection
take all
ability
your bank account information
than what we have in the US. But even to that end, we're not allowed to use it in the military. So that should tell you something.
Which is shocking because
who can control that?
TikTok used to be called Musical.ly. And before that, it used to be called something else.
Huh,
and so we had Musical.ly all across America. It was a very popular app.
Huh.
And it was exactly the same thing where you just take a video of yourself making a music video. And then all of a sudden, it was like, TikTok is not okay. But it's like, we've had Musical.ly for years.
Too late. They've already had my face.
And then...
it's like those face swap apps that people use all the time. And they're like, look at how cute my face looks on my baby.
Yeah.
And they post it on social. And I'm just like, why did you have your baby get a picture? Do you not just see what they did to the Prime Minister of Ukraine is on the news announcing retreating to his troops, and it looks incredibly real, and yet it's a fake video, a deep fake video, because they have their images. And now you've just given the ability for someone to create a social identity.
Yes.
Anyway.
And just to end it off here,
that's me not having hope. So back to the hope. I have hope. I'm trusting in the Lord. And I just want everybody to always be wise and be able to make good decisions.
Yeah. To wrap it up here, the average number of terms of service agreements
yeah. Okay, here we go.
you will sign throughout your life.
Me personally, and you.
Is 25,000.
25,000.
Average of 3 a month.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And how many of us just either unintentionally skip through it or YouTube's a good example. You must be 13 years old or older to use this. How many kids do we know on YouTube that are definitely not 13? I'm 13. Sure. Scroll my birth date. So they're either intentionally bypassing the terms of service or they're just, not reading it. So anyway, hope this was a good tool for you all. Thank you again for listening to another week of the Anna Vivo podcast, another episode, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Anna Vivo podcast. We welcome your feedback and ideas. You can learn more about us by simply Googling the word Anna Vivo. This podcast is supported by listeners like you. I am a licensed real estate broker with Compass Real Estate and a nationwide real estate matchmaker. We consult with you for free, find and vet the right real estate professional that specializes in the area and niche you need, are paid by that professional, and they get clients like yourself who want and need their unique specialty or winning track record. If you or someone you know is in the market to buy or sell real estate anywhere in the U.S., don't simply web search the highest paying advertiser. Let us use our licensed experience to find and vet the real and best professional for you. It costs you nothing but a phone call or email with me and has saved my clients financially and emotionally. I'd be honored to serve, and you can reach me direct by email at tim.c.miller@outlook.com. And as always, to God be the glory.